Welcome back to the Beyond the Buckets. Happy to have Jeff Christian. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Chris. I'm really excited to be with you today and get to talk about life and beyond the buckets and talk about what's going on out here in Vacaville. Grew up in the Bay Area, so excited to revisit sometime back in San Jose and Archbishop Meade High School in the University of San Francisco. So yeah, excited to talk to you.
Cool. Well, let's start off with a fun fact. Give us one fun fact about you before we get into your 3-minute origin story.
Fun fact. I don't know if it's too fun, but people used to give me the business all the time. I'm a registered nurse, and I worked for 12 years in the trauma ICU at UC Davis.
Oh, wow.
And during the night shift, sometimes, not too often, but things would get slow. And my wife taught me how to crochet. And so people would always kind of give me the business and make fun of me for crocheting. But it was awesome because I learned how to make baby blankets and give them as gifts. And people were like, who made that? And you tell them that you did. And it was kind of fun because it's something that they didn't expect. So that's the first thing that jumps out to my head of you asking me that question.
Well, that's the first on this show, a crochet, connoisseur, or I would say probably expert at this point, right?
And I visit a little bit with some mindfulness stuff. It's kind of funny you mentioned it, in my role as a nurse, teaching clinical at UC Davis, sometimes patients have pain that's just uncontrollable, and you can give them some medication, but sometimes there's a window of which you can give them the medication to meet their needs. And so I started working with patients on actually crocheting as a way to distract themselves from the pain. And it's been pretty cool how it's empowered them to take control of something that they feel like they don't have any control of. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's really cool. That's why I ask this question from time to time, just to see, because so many, we'll talk about a bunch of different things here, but I would never know that about you if we didn't ask. So that's one of the other things that doing this podcast has kind of revealed is you never know if you just ask, just coming across different people, asking them to jump on the show and have a conversation has been really cool. So.
Yeah.
I want to move on to your origin story. You said you grew up in San Jose. You went to Archbishop Meade High School, which is, I guess, an arch rival of mine right now because I'm coaching and teaching at Valley Christian. But got a lot of respect for the school, and a lot of great people have come out of there. So tell me what kind of kid you were, and how'd you get to where you're at now?
Yeah. I actually grew up, since you're from Campbell. I grew up in Campbell, but when you're out in Sacramento way or elsewhere and you say Campbell, people are like, where's that?
Yeah,
And so
so
you
you
guys
say
say
San
San Jose.
Jose.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm from Campbell. Let's get that one straight. And grew up right there behind Tower Records, McBain Court.
Yeah.
And
Taco Bravo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy story in itself. I guess that's part of my origin. My first job in the third grade, third, fourth, and fifth grade, picking up trash there before school.
Are you
Uh,
kidding me?
no, I'm not. I'm not. And then I moved up from sixth, seventh, and eighth grade working at Tower Records. I don't know if you remember Tower
Oh,
Records. I
I
think there's a
remember.
pet store
It is.
on that
It is.
corner there, Bascom right there,
Yep.
and did that. But yeah, I have 8 brothers and sisters. There was only 10 years difference between us all. And so growing up was a lot of fun and a lot of craziness. 5 boys, including me, and 3 girls. We all went to St. Lucy's.
Me too. I went to St. Lucie as
Oh,
well.
did you really?
And before you continue, I want to tell you this before I forget it. We're filming this, late November. This will probably air in late January or early February. But um, Taco Bravo packed the other day when I drove by. Probably, I think it was Thursday, yesterday, and I went and picked my kids up, and it's about 6:30. The line was around. I mean, people were
Wow.
social distancing and whatnot, but
Yeah.
the line was packed, and I think it was, I don't know if it was $1 tacos or whatever the case may be. But no, our high school days, we spent many an hour in that parking lot for sure. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
continue on with your origin story.
yeah, yeah. And so my oldest brother went to Del Mar, where you went, and he played football and wrestled, and we were all pretty athletic. And then
Hmm.
my next brother Matt started the tradition to go to Midi, and then Pete, Kevin, and myself followed him, and my younger sister Monica. And then yeah, everybody played a lot of sports there. I played football, baseball, basketball. Matt was a pretty good baseball player, and Kevin Pete played basketball. And all went on. Matt played baseball at San Jose State. Kevin played
Yeah,
basketball at
did he
Chico
play for? He
State.
had to play for Sam Peraro then, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Sam was on this show. I think he was one of the first 10 episodes,
Oh, nice.
and he and well, Sam's son and I, we grew up together. So
Okay.
I, on regular years, I break bread with them often.
Nice. Yeah. Matt loved playing for him. Yeah. And then Pete played at Humboldt State.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I played at USF. And just, yeah, had a lot of fun growing up. It was at the time, you don't really realize it. And I think I was thinking about, I know you're going to ask about how C4 kind of came up. And I think it just started right out of the gate when I was a kid. And when you grow up, we had all of our needs met for sure. But my dad was a firefighter. My mom just took care of us, which was a whole bunch of 8 kids. And we all went to St. Lucy's, and we didn't have much money. And so we always hustled to make ends meet. And so we were the landscape crew, the janitors. We set up bingo. My dad started bingo on Tuesday and Thursday nights. So we would set up and take down bingo,
Yeah.
anything to make things kind of work and be able to make ends meet. And at the time, I didn't really care for it, to be honest, because I just wanted to, when school was done, I wanted to get out and play and go do what everybody else was doing. But we had to stay and clean up the school.
Right.
Um, but to you fast forward, to when you're an adult and you're like, oh man, that just helped me so much and learn really important life lessons that you don't know at the time, but for sure catch up, and you've laid a pretty good foundation for yourself through those experiences.
Yeah, it's amazing how the childhood can kind of affect the rest of your life. And so, if you were taught to be a hard worker or nurtured really well, it just bodes well for you. It just gives you, I would say, more of an advantage. I was just talking to a panel of students right now before we jumped on, and the best thing that my mom could ever do to me was instill so much confidence in me. So I literally don't think I can lose in anything because she told me I was the best. And now I see it when when now she's a grandparent, and I see it with my own kids, and she pours into them so much confidence. He does the littlest thing and she just applauds him, and she's his biggest cheerleader. So that for me has been the biggest thing, is just the confidence level that I have is because of what she did and how she raised me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that, and thanks for sharing that. Where do you think that stemmed from with your mom? And I would, yeah, it's a,
My mom is still disabled, so she had polio when she was very young. So back in the 60s, if you didn't get the vaccines, you were potentially going to get or contract polio or some other diseases and whatnot. So she contracted it at like age 14. She was ridiculed, and how kids are, especially back then. And she didn't want to have a brace or crutches or a wheelchair or anything like that. So originally she did, and then she decided that she was going to try to learn how to walk without it, and she did. And her leg is still about the size of my wrist. And so I think from that it was like she never made her disability debilitating in her eyes. And so uh, I think that is the reason why she wanted to pour so much confidence, because it didn't matter what what it was, if it was a disability or something that you had to overcome. I think that is the real reason why she decided to pour into me like that. So yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how life works out like that, taking something that could be debilitating and cause you to lose confidence and not be able to take the next step in your life. And here she is, a hero to you, and sounds like an amazing grandma. And I'm sure your two kids just love having her around, and something that probably is one of her greatest assets,
For sure.
was going through that challenge.
Definitely. Usually the toughest things build the most character and end up helping you out your entire life. Speaking of that, you talked about your C4 leaders, and that is the nonprofit that you started. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Um, it's really just to try and help people, including me, live our best life. And I think there's some key components, which obviously are those four C's, which are communication, chemistry, consistency, and creativity. And then C4, as you know, is an explosive, is powerful. And I was trying to think of, again, kind of back to my childhood, of how did did I really develop into C4, to
Yeah.
be honest. And I think it really, just like your mom, it came from my mom. And I don't know how she did it, but I told you I have 8 brothers and sisters. And my dad was a great man, but he was busy working, and then he was an alcoholic, unfortunately. And so when he wasn't, he was, drinking. And so my mom had to put up with a lot, but somehow she made the world stop.
Yeah.
And so my definition of communication is listening with an empathetic ear with the intent to serve. And how my mom did that, with all the chaos going around, when you needed her, the world stopped. And I just can't thank her enough for giving me that empathy. And it's probably a big reason why I went into nursing as well. My mom was a nurse, and I never saw her really work in that capacity much till I was uh, finishing up high school. But yeah, just the empathy that she showed me, and all of the patients that she took care of, was something that obviously has influenced my life in great detail. And then chemistry is the developing trust in yourself to bring and receive value from the connections in your life.
Mhm.
Again, I think that when you grow up in a big family, all 5 boys were in one room, and giving each other the business, and you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I develop trust and kind of know who I am, and bring value to my family. And then you look at us with the work that we did to make our educational needs kind of met. It was just kind of built in. And then I think sports, the consistency piece is BTA, which is you got to bust that ass and you got to work hard. But then beyond that piece, you got to consistently challenge your thoughts and perspectives to the point of vulnerability, and knowing that you're not perfect, you're going to make mistakes. But when you can allow yourself to get into that space and just be vulnerable and say, hey, here's who I am, with all my things that I don't do well and do well, but I'm willing to learn and grow and get better, that's when you truly empower yourself. And helping people get into that space is a game changer for creating change, and then helping them get to the next C, which is creativity. And that's overcoming fear, to be willing to share your God-given gift. And each of us has been given a gift. And I think it's on you, it's on me, and every other person that you're going to have on this show and that's graces this earth, to bring that out in each other. And so, yeah, C4 leaders tries to put people in that space to share their gift, and then just pass it on.
Wow. I mean, awesome stuff that you're doing. And I think the consistency part is probably one of the most significant ones because in anything that you do, you want to make sure that you are consistent with it. So many times people may start things, but they're not able to follow through. and remain consistent. And just think about any relationship that you have, you want some sort of consistency. If you think about competition and athletics, you want some sort of consistency. It's things like that are very, very important. You talked about the empathy as well. Listening with the empathetic ear. I think that is all tremendous stuff. So yeah, I really love all four of the C's, but specifically that consistency piece.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, it's pretty exciting right now. I'm kind of in a weird spot in my life of trying to figure out kind of what's next. And C4 is just my DNA. It's just what I do and who I am. And I'm gonna switch it up a little bit and morph it into. I got this pizza truck, which is a whole nother story in itself.
And I
But
definitely want to get to that too. I got that on my mind
okay,
for the end for sure. Um,
yeah.
with your, you talk about the C4, which is awesome. We have this thing in our program. It's called CARE, and the C stands for consistent. Whether that be me as the head coach, I want to remain consistent on a day-to-day basis on, being on time, being prepared, having a practice plan, holding you guys accountable, things like that. The A is for attitude. So whatever you do, and I learned this from one of the previous guests, is what type of mood do you want to be in? If you got on here with a bad mood, that's your choice. Or if I got on here with a bad mood, that is my choice. If I walk into a room and I don't have a great mood, well, that's on me. That's an attitude choice that I decided to make. Even if I had the worst day ever, I can still come in with a great attitude. So one of the things that I stole from Kendra Aaron was, what type of mood do you choose to be in? So attitude. The third one, the R is for respect. So, respecting, yourself, what you're putting in your body, are you hydrating, or are you being respectful when we go out on, to team dinners or hotels or whatever the case. And then the last one, and this is just the price of admission, which is your effort, your energy, your effort, what you put into it. You talked about BTA, busting that ass to get to what you want. And no matter what you want, you're gonna have to work for it. And so yeah, we put the acronym CARE. And yeah.
I love it. I love it. So would those be your program values and how do you bring those to life on the daily?
Yeah, I love how you flipping it too. That's a great podcasting. That's a great podcasting resource. Is flipping the questions to the interviewer. I love it. Um,
Well, I'm trying to learn, man.
no, I
I
hear
have
you.
I'm like a broken clock. I got a couple good things that are right every now and then, but no, that's what I love. Is there's just so much learning to go on, and I got to
Yeah.
practice what I preach. That's my
No,
consistency.
that's why I
So,
started the podcast, because I want the best of all these people that I'm getting from. But to answer, those are like some of our standards. So we have a bunch of standards that we talk about. As far as like what we're made of, like every break we talk about all in, and we clap three times and say warriors. And so we can say that, but what does that actually mean? I need to know what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what it feels like. And so what they talk about, and I let them figure out, all right, if we're going to be all in, what does it look like? And so most of them would say engaged, prepared, together, and dedicated, right? And then what does it sound like? It sounds loud and powerful, similar to your C4. It's explosive, positive, encouraging, respectful. And, it sounds like high fives, clapping, or compliments, right? And then the feel would be competitive. We want to be competitive when we're playing. We want to be competitive in life, in the classroom. Feels like family, trust, and most importantly, if we're gonna do something, let's have fun with it. So those are some of the things that we talk about, and then we talk about the care. And this is something that we'll go over on a year-to-year basis with our program. And it just, everybody talks about the culture, And who knows, this may change, and this may change after COVID. It may change in 5 years, whatever the case may be. Just what we did last year, but I'm always changing. So what we did in year one and now here in year eight is completely different. But a lot of the main core pieces stay the same, and I would say that all in as well as the care that we want to have in our program are two things that are always going to stay consistent.
Yeah, I love that. And I love hearing you talk about how, you were a certain coach and had these values at year one. And then now here you are at year eight, and you're totally different. Just from a outsider's perspective, that's just a great sign. And your team and Valley Christian is so fortunate to have you, because this might sound bad, but so many people get stuck thinking that they've figured it out, and then they quit growing, and quit seeking ways to do things just a little bit better. And can I find who I always say the guru? Who's the person that can get down and really help you notch your game up to the next level? And yeah, just to hear and listen to you, that's awesome. And I'm hoping I can sneak down to a practice and watch and see some of this in action. One of the things that you left out of just basketball sounds for me is just the screech of the floor.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite parts to getting ready for practice: sweeping the floor, making sure there's no dirt on it, and then just hearing the shoes and that screech, just that only you get from basketball. Ah, yeah, I
Yeah.
miss that sound.
We were able to get in the gym with our group. We did it for about 8 weeks now. They just stopped because school's going back to distance learning, at least until the end of the semester, which would be in January. But it was just so great to be out there. It was so great to. I mean, we could only do skill stuff,
Mhm.
shooting and ball handling, and we couldn't play or anything like that. Everybody had to wear a mask, but it was just great to actually just do that and hear those sounds and see them. Well, you couldn't see them smile, but you can kind of you can kind of see their eyes light up because they were
Oh
able to
yeah,
be on the court. So, yeah, I agree. This,
and definitely their body language, I'm sure was just yeah, going crazy, just missing each other, and that camaraderie and sisterhood that you create is just so important. So important through this time to keep everybody safe, but also realize that it's challenging to be gone, and that disconnect that happens, and then unfortunately sometimes can take us to some interesting places in our minds. So yeah, that's awesome to hear that you guys had at least that one day to get together, and then hopefully get out there sooner rather than later.
for sure. Tell me about nursing. You are a nursing professor now, but are you still practicing nursing as well?
Nah, well, that's a good question. I'm not at the bedside outside of my capacity now as a nursing professor, but at Sac City, where I work, you teach the theory, the lab, and then the clinical. And the clinical is the hospital practice when you're taking care of patients. So, I would say I'm at the bedside, obviously, for that with my students, but not working anymore outside of that space, just because I'm doing the C4 stuff. I'm coaching a team myself right now, and then just yeah, want to have a little bit of other time to do
Definitely.
things.
Um, my wife is a nurse. I think I told you that as well. And coming from the nurse's perspective, what are your thoughts on the COVID and just the landscape of what's been going on over the last 8 months?
That's a loaded question, and I don't want to get uh, too political because I'm not a political guy, but I just think we missed the boat right out of the gate. And
Hmm.
we could see kind of what was going on in other parts of the world and why we didn't think that what goes on somewhere else is going to go on here. I don't have a clue, but we were totally caught off guard and things were miscommunicated. And I
Right.
think that's why we are still where we are, almost back, to be honest, like a day one, because people didn't trust what was being communicated. You know, we're talking about your values and my values. You know, you just look at the breakdown of communication. You look at the breakdown of trust. You look at the breakdown of consistently challenging your thoughts and perspectives. You know, of going and finding the guru who can give you the best evidence to communicate that, and then empowering people to go out and do what they need to do. You know,
Right.
and I just think our government didn't do a good job. They weren't a united team in getting that message out, and I think we're going to pay the price for that for a long time. You know, and I think that's, you know, what's going on now. You know, just some people think it's something that you know, aren't going to get really sick from, even though there's, you know, all those deaths that have been going on. But yeah, I just think the communication was a big breakdown for us.
Right. I listened to another podcast, Joe Rogan, and he had Nicholas Christakis. He's a Yale professor in the natural science department at Yale, doctor, and he just came out with a book, and it's all about epidemiology and whatnot. And he's obviously specifically talking about the coronavirus and how it has played out, and when people knew what and what was you like you just said it, what was what the information was and what was given out were two different things. But to talk about vaccines, it was a really good podcast. They were on for about 2.5, 3 hours, and I listened to the whole thing. And when you actually really educate yourself about it, that's when you start to open your mind up more. Because if we just sit and watch the news, well, that doesn't tell us anything. Because I don't know about you, but well, you might still. My wife gets all the reports, and from Stanford, Valley Medical, Good Samaritan, all the local ones, USF. She doesn't get Kaiser's information because Kaiser kind of keeps their stuff together, but it's not. She's not getting the same information that is being delivered out there on the media outlets. So it just leaves you to wonder kind of what's going on, and
Yeah,
obviously it's a real thing. People are dying from it. I'm going to continue to wear my mask and socially distance, but I think you're right. We probably missed the boat on something. I don't know who the blame is to go to, but hopefully this will teach us in the long run, because I don't think COVID, and this guy said COVID's not going away anytime soon. We're just going to have to be understanding and how to live with it. So
yeah, and
it's
that's what gets scary, you know, because there is research coming out, and I don't know if that doctor talked about it, but all the little micro emboli that they're finding that are in people's brains, lungs, and hearts, which are significantly going to impact their quality of life. You know,
right.
and I'm already seeing friends who are having memory challenges,
Mm,
who've had COVID. Yeah, people that have asthma that have had COVID, and now things are just a little bit harder to breathe. And yeah, the long term impact of this is going to be significant.
well, it
Um,
attacks the respiratory system, if I'm not mistaken. So somebody that
mhm.
might be asthmatic would definitely have some issues, probably moving forward outside of the issues that they already had. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist or anything like that. One thing that they were making a point of is, or Joe Rogan anyway, was talking about why didn't our leadership tell us to be more conscientious of our immune system, meaning get healthier. 66% of Americans are overweight. Well, why don't we focus on our health more, and then maybe we wouldn't have such a high mortality rate. If Well, I guess it's not even really a high mortality rate. It's what, 1% mortality death rate if you do contract it, right? So most 99% of people will pass it, but for those one percenters, if that was somebody's mom or dad, like, you're not going to tell them that that's okay. So any amount of death is not okay if we can have it prevented. But I do think one thing is just health and wellness for everybody.
For sure. And that those are great comments and not easy things to fix. On the surface, they are, and it looks like you take really good care of yourself. And looking at your website, see that you value nutrition and mindfulness and taking care of your body. But when you have habits on the other end of where that hasn't been part of your norm of how you grew up, and not eating healthy food, and not exercising, creating that change is not so easy. And I think that's where, especially from a nursing perspective of trying to help people take a step back and figure out what's truly most important to them, and then how do we help them implement those changes. And that's a loaded question in itself.
Right.
You have Maslow has his hierarchy of needs, and I think there's just a lot of our country that is on that bottom level of just trying to get their basic needs met. And
Right.
until we can do a better job empowering all people, and honoring all people, we're going to continue to have things that are simple, like changing your nutrition, that are impossible to overcome, and therefore help people with their immune system, just because we're far away from that. Something that sounds simple but not so simple
Right.
to deal with.
Definitely. Uh, Moving on from the depressing
Yeah,
coronavirus
I
talk.
know, man.
I love the chat anyway, just because you're an intellectual person that has a pretty good perspective or unique perspective because you're in the medical field. Let's talk about some hoops. You're a longtime basketball coach. You want to give everybody kind of a breakdown of your coaching history. You're right now coaching the Solano Stallions, which is an American Basketball Association team, uh, professional team. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I've started, yeah, just coaching JV and varsity, and always wanted to coach my kids. I have two girls, and so got them in a city league in West Sac when they were 4 and 5s, and so coached them all the way through all that stuff while coaching the high school level. And then my oldest daughter, Capriana, got the good fortune to go play NAI basketball out in the Midwest in Chicago.
Hmm.
One of my highlights to my career was getting to go coach her last season. My job allowed me to work a whole bunch on the front end and the back end, and so I took off during that season and got to go live in the Midwest, which was an awesome experience. And then coached a fifth grade girls team, which was one of the highlights of my career as well, of working with kids who have never even seen a ball. It was a girls team, and just seeing them empower themselves to go out and try their best. I had so much fun coaching that team. And then now, yeah, I'm the head coach for the Solano Stallions. We've been practicing just since October, just 1 day a week right now. And yeah, it's been a big learning curve
Hmm.
for me, especially coaching the women recently. And these are young men who are, anywhere from probably 24 to 34, that are trying to keep their dream alive. Guys that played NAIA, D2, D3, and just some great young men just who love the game and are trying to take that next step in their life of getting overseas.
Right. No, it's that the ABA is definitely a grind. And people, like you said, people are still trying to hold on to that dream. My brother is the commissioner for the TBL, the basketball league, which I guess would be a competitor of the
Yeah.
ABA. But no, it's my brother used to be one of those guys that played in the ABA, and finally got an opportunity to play overseas and that sort of thing. But no, it takes a special type of person to continue to want to have the passion to play, because if you're not playing in the G League or the NBA or overseas, your opportunities are limited. And so to get some film, to continue to play against high level competition, guys that played in college, I think is so important.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting. I'm not too knowledgeable about the ABA or the basketball league, but it does, since they are a competitor, and competition is always good. But the little that I know now, it seems like it's going to be interesting to see if that competition kind of really dilutes the competition,
Sure.
within the ABA and the basketball league. And it would have been cool to somehow combine that and help one of those leagues kind of rise and really be a product that can help players take the next step.
Who
And so
who
it's
who runs the ABA?
I forget who, I should know that, but it was a guy that originally started it back in the 60s. And he has a new partner, and yeah, I'm forgetting his name. And I like the model. I mean, there's over 180 teams in the US. I don't know how much it costs to buy the franchise, but then they like it to be local and try and get guys. Most of our players are coming from Oakland, Vallejo, Hayward, Fairfield, and then give them an opportunity to represent the local community. And again, like we said, keep their dream alive.
Right.
So I love the concept behind it, but I just feel like we need a little bit of help.
For
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, it's tough to keep those leagues going, and finances are a big thing. The guys want to get paid too, and facilities and uniforms and officials and all that stuff kind of adds
yeah,
up. So, um, yeah, interesting stuff.
yeah.
Tell me about this pizza making.
Yeah, so we've I don't know, are you familiar with the Rotary Youth Exchange? You
I'm not.
ever
No,
okay, so you've
I know
you're
the Rotary
familiar with
Club, but
Rotary then.
I haven't heard of the Rotary Youth Exchange. No.
Yeah, so Rotary, I'm not a Rotarian, but with my nonprofits, I've gone to speak to them a bunch, and Rotary does incredible work all over the world. A really incredible organization. And one of the things that they do really well is they have this youth exchange program, which I don't know how old your kids are, but you should check into it once all this COVID stuff quiets down and everything. But we've hosted three students from Colombia, France, and Switzerland, and then kind of sort of one from Italy. And so we had the good fortune of going and getting some payback and going to visit the students in Italy, France, and Switzerland last summer. And when I was out there, just the way that they eat and celebrate each other over a meal really took me back of
Mhm.
just like, man, we gotta slow down and celebrate each other more through how we eat. And I don't know about you, but I grew up having family dinner. Currently, we have family dinner 7 nights a week. We don't miss it. And there's so much evidence behind having family dinner at least 5 nights a week. You were talking about obesity, cutting down the obesity rates. The food's just healthier, cutting down depression, all kind of evidence behind the benefits of it. And so, long story short, I said, hey, when I get back, I'm gonna figure out how to make this something where we can celebrate as a people each other. And so I found a company in Napa who father and son who are Italian who make this incredible wood-fired pizza oven. Uh,
I'm hungry already.
oh man, it is so good too. And so partner with them. Ronnie Lott had a Tracy Toyota dealership and found one of their old trucks. It was a delivery truck, and I chopped the top of that off, put the pizza oven on the back of that, and then the baby just rolls. And so we've taken it to churches. We were affected by the fires out here a couple months ago. So we did a couple fundraisers for that. And then for us, usually Wednesday nights, if it's not raining, is pizza night for the family and kind of the neighborhood. I go around delivering pizzas to everybody, and then once the COVID's done, and it will be open to everybody. But the vision is really fun. I'm gonna. That's where I was saying my nonprofit is going to change from this experience of wanting to take this and replicate it out into the community. I'm writing a book right now, doing a bunch of research. It's called Pizza Night We Rise Together.
Hmm.
I'm going to be starting my own podcast,
Yeah.
um, of reaching out to people and finding out what their essential ingredients are for their life. And then taking the pizza truck and going to the community and just helping people break bread together and see each other, and sprinkling in some of these facts about the importance of, family dinner, and some nutritional facts, and hopefully being able to partner and find some resources for some communities that don't have a lot of ways to eat healthy. And so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with it. And just doing a bunch of research right now, trying to get ready to. I've started writing, but I'm doing a lot of reading right now.
Well, I'm starving, by the way, but that's an awesome idea. Make sure you pull up to San Jose too, and right down the street from where you grew up. We're literally a half mile from where you're at. And my in-laws, they live on Dry Creek,
Oh yeah.
so and they have a wood fire pizza oven too. We actually have one too in our house, but we haven't used it because
What?
yeah, it's well, it's I don't know. It's behind. It's really old, but yeah,
Hey, they last forever.
maybe you could show us how to do it because
Definitely.
we're a little lost. But that's awesome. What well, I want to say this because that's great, and it leads into this question: what does legacy mean to you? You know, doing what you're doing is, God's work. It's servanthood at its finest. Um, and so, what does legacy mean to you?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I have a quote that I often think of by John Alston. It says, "The only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind." And so, legacy for me is people knowing that I lived by my values, made decisions by those values, and then took action that reflected those values and made this world a little bit better than it was before. And that's where I get my satisfaction, my sense of fulfillment and growth. And way I get to keep challenging myself is to keep trying to get better, and make sure that I live up to what I'm preaching. Um, and so, yeah, if I could do those things, when my time comes, I know that I'll be ready to go home. And it's as a nurse, I don't know if I look at it any different. I don't know how you view it, but my background of working in the trauma ICU for 12 years was taking care of people shot, stabbed, really bad car accidents at a level 1 trauma center back when there weren't any other trauma centers around. So we were busy, and I've been surrounded by death. And when you're surrounded by death, you say, I'm going to hurry up and get busy to live it. And so I think that's given me a lens to really focus my energy on the areas that are important, and I haven't mastered it, but I'm getting better and better at making decisions of where my energy goes, to be able to, what you're asking me, to leave a legacy that's reflected in these values, and so, yeah, to tie it back into, the pizza. Yeah, I want people to know when I bring up the pizza truck to their neighborhood that, yeah, this guy is going to listen and serve. He's going to bring us together and help us connect, and help us share and evaluate and come up with our life's essential ingredients. He's going to challenge our thoughts and perspectives and say, is there a different way of doing things? And then he's going to empower us to share our gift with the world. I do those things. Yeah, that's a life worth living.
I
Um,
love it, man. That's awesome. Two things. One, if there was one person that you think should be to come on the show, who would it be? And if you say the name, then you have to make the connection. That's how I've been getting my guests lately.
I love it. I love it.
And then I'll let you plug your new book, C4. Yeah, Solano, Stallions, anything, and where everybody can follow you. So
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. Are you familiar with John Gordon?
I am.
Okay. Have you
Yeah,
had him on the show?
I haven't. He wrote the Energy Bus, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of
Yeah,
other
and a bunch
books.
of other books. Do you have a connection with him?
Uh, I went to one of his trainings. I have his cell number. I will text you. He's a guy that answers. He
Yeah,
knows
he does.
he's crazy busy, and I bet you he would come on. He's definitely somebody that I'm gonna reach out to get onto my show. But I'll for sure share
No,
his contact
I
information.
would love him. I love his books. I've read several of them. The Energy Bus is one of my favorites of all time. So that would be really cool. He's is one of those guys that is super busy, but he does a lot of this stuff too. So
Oh
um,
man, yeah. And you guys just the little bit of time that we spent on the phone before, and then now getting to see what you stand for. You guys have a lot in common. And he is a good man, and I think he'd be a great guest on your show. And I think your listeners would get a lot from what he has to share.
definitely.
So yeah, definitely. And I'm not. I need your help, man. You're saying, hey, I can tell people how they can get in contact with me. I don't do any of the social media stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
you're gonna have to now. But I mean, I could put your LinkedIn on the bio, so I'll do that, and I'll put your c4leaders.org right on the
yeah,
bio.
yeah. And
So
then you're gonna crack up. I just got a Instagram, C4 Leaders Instagram. I don't post anything, so I gotta take steps towards doing that. But I really want to. This is gonna sound. I don't know how it's gonna sound, but I'm focused on putting my energy where my energy needs to go. And I don't have much more capacity other than focusing right now on this pizza night, bringing that to the community, and writing this book and taking care of my family. And so, yeah, I'm just not, I don't put, you asked me about, I don't watch, we don't even have cable.
yeah,
I don't, follow, I'm not on any of these websites. And so I know I'm missing out, but in a perfect world for me, I find somebody that's their gift, and I know you have a marketing background. So I need to find somebody that can help me help others by sharing their gift to me with their marketing expertise. So I'm going to put it back on you, like a
yeah,
good podcast host.
yeah,
Can you maybe give me some guidance on how to find somebody that can help with that marketing?
definitely. I've got a well, I wouldn't say a team. I have one person that helps me do all this stuff mostly. So a lot of my social media posts will be generated because she does them and then I'll approve them and then she has access to everything so she could post them. So that's what I've been doing because like you, I have like I'm not really concerned about being on Instagram and my favorite social media is Twitter because I can get a lot of information from there, whether that be sports related, news related, I can get it real quick. I'm not a content subscriber. I want to put out the content, so that's what I use social media for. I use LinkedIn the most, and that's how we met, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been great. But yeah, I'll think about somebody. I'll ask her. She's down in LA. I'll see if she has anybody else that is doing that sort of thing. But yeah, I just,
Yeah.
and I have somebody that does it for my businesses for Top Flight Elite as well. And Splash Lab, we hire somebody to do that because if you can't if you can't do it yourself, you're gonna need to do it to
Yeah.
market it and get your word out there. And um, I don't want to do it either. I just now opened mine to unprivate, so like I don't even have 1,000 followers. I don't think yet, but um, it just takes time and I'm patient, so I'm not worried about. And I'm not doing it to be famous either. It's doing it because hopefully I can help somebody else out. And I think, well, I know that's the same place for you, but you do need to put it out there and be on these platforms. So that is great that you got it. And now if you don't want to post, be able to find somebody that will post on your behalf. Obviously, you want to make sure that they're posting the stuff that, you know, that is essential to you. But
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta that's something you gotta do. And I've been coached. I didn't want to do all that stuff.
Mhm.
And she's telling me, well, you've got to post at least 3 times a day on each one of these platforms. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right, and but that's how things continue to work. I wouldn't, if I didn't post any of these things, well, nobody would listen, and I wouldn't, it would be all for naught, right?
Yeah.
Because our objective is to help others,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what we're called to do. And so if we're called to do it, we've got to get on top of the mountaintop and let them know.
That's right. Yeah, and I'm ready to do that with somebody's help. Yeah, so I can
Definitely.
put my
Well,
blessings on.
thank you so much. I think this is a very entertaining episode. People are going to get a lot from it. And yeah, pizza coming to you pretty soon with Jeff Christian. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. You take care, Chris.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.